Goose, are you ready for our review?
Check it out, Darren. I've been up all night working on a paper version of the Spawn Point Studio. What do you think?
Oh, wonderful work! The perfect setting for our review of Paper Mario Color Splash. But shouldn't we be made out of paper too?
Oh, no, Darren. Last time I went full 2D, it took me a whole week to get back into shape. Plus, I kept slipping through cracks in the floor. It was most unpleasant.
Fair enough. Well, maybe one more coat of paint before we begin then.
Agreed.
Paper Mario Color Splash is the 5th game in the RPG Light Paper series, which focuses on story, puzzle solving and turn-based combat, all set within a beautifully paper-crafted world made up of cardboard, tape and, of course, paper.
This time, Mario, Peach and their trustworthy Toad companion journey to Prisma Island after being mailed a mysterious Toad who's been totally drained of his colour. Upon arrival at the local port, they discover it to be totally deserted and also missing a patch of paint here and there.
Soon, however, the trio meet Huey, a wisecracking paint can who explains how the island's paint stars have disappeared, drying up Prisma Plaza's fountain, leaving the whole island in a patchy, colourless disarray.
So, once again, it's up to the plucky plumber to hunt down the stars through the island's varied locations and restore colour to the land and its many Toad inhabitants, all while solving the mystery of the missing paint. To do this, you'll have to explore the islands and chat with multiple characters to work out what to do next and progress the story along, because of course, this is an RPG. Luckily, Huey tags along as your guide, so if you're ever stuck or lost, you can call on him for help, even if he does talk way too much. Kinda reminds me of another overly chatty tin can I know.
Indeed. Sometimes I think Barjo will never stop talking.
Yeah. Your main tool in this adventure is Mario's trusty hammer, which this time around has been infused with a peculiar paint power that allows you to touch up colourless patches in the world by, well, hitting them with a hammer.
It is rather strange that they didn't choose a more traditional form of paint applicator. But I have to admit, I did very much enjoy swinging my mallet around to smash a splatter of paint every time I saw a bit of blank canvas. Oh, that's just so satisfying.
Yeah, totally. I got quite obsessed with trying to 100% all those patchy areas. And the hammer is one of the more traditional items in the paper series, so it's nice to see it here with a different use. Like painting incomplete objects to solve puzzles, or maybe waking up a Toad who's gone a little pale.
Your hammer does, however, have a finite amount of paint, so you'll need to keep an eye out for colourful objects to knock extra colour out of. Luckily, you're also able to upgrade your hammer's total paint reserve by defeating enemies that you'll often encounter along your travels.
Yes, and Darren, this brings me to my biggest problem with the game, the combat. Now, I've never been the biggest fan of the turn-based combat in this series, but I know that many people out there are. So I put my issues aside and jumped in, ready to try my hand at this more methodical style of Mario Melee.
And?
Oh, it's just so boring, Darren. I really tried, but it's slow, it's repetitive, and worst of all, it's way too easy. Let me explain. Every time you encounter an enemy, you're taken into a combat screen where you select your target, then pick cards that represent different moves, just like the stickers in Sticker Star. Then you select the card best for the situation before you're given the rather pointless option to paint blank cards for extra power. But you almost always have heaps of paint, so it just slows down the whole process. Then finally, you're made to flick the cards off the gamepad to initiate the attack, before then timing a single button press to either up the attack power or block incoming attacks and enemies. And this happens every single time. When you compare it to just simply jumping on a Goomba's head, it feels like an eternity.
Well, you can still do that here for an extra attack, Goose, but you'll still have to finish off the enemy one turn at a time. Plus, later on, you can KO weaker enemies in one hit to avoid a fight altogether, but it is still a slow process.
There is also the option to flee, but it's not always guaranteed and can often fail, leaving you open to an attack. Overall, it's a functional combat system, but Darren, it's just not particularly challenging or fun for that matter.
I know what you mean, Goose. Usually I love calculated, systematic, turn-based routines, but even I found myself going into sleep mode.
The challenge does pick up later in the game, but by then I was just running away from enemies so I could focus on the story and puzzle-solving elements instead to find those missing paint stars.
As you collect small paint stars, you'll open up new areas and meet new characters. And this is where Colour Splash really shines. Mixing up the charming story elements with the delightful visuals and funny characters makes for some of the most memorable moments in the game.
Ah, yes, like this bit, where the level is rolled up behind you, making for a thrilling chase. Or this odd level that looks remarkably like an older adventure from back in the day. And I just love the design of everything here, Darren. It all looks like it's been handcrafted with such love and care, from the cascading paper water in these water wheels, to the way things react when you hit them with a hammer. Oh, sorry, princess.
Oh. This is the first and probably last Paper Mario adventure on the Wii U, and the game takes full advantage of the console's power, squeezing every last drop of detail out of the world.
To be fair, it's a rather simple graphic style, but you're right, it all just pops with such style and even throws in some clever tricks with the gamepad, like cutting out scenery to solve puzzles. But Darren, I just wish I found that combat more interesting. Maybe it's because I've grown up playing games like these and I just feel like I've seen and done it all before. Hunting down stars, collecting cards and coins, fighting the same enemies over and over, even saving the princess again.
I agree, Goose. It does feel more of a collection of elements from previous games rather than a totally new adventure. But there's no denying the colourful charm hidden around every corner, and for spawnlings out there who've never played a Paper Mario game, this is a great introduction to the Papercraft series. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it certainly is a well-crafted game and it's trying to improve the formula, but if you ask me, it's probably time the series got a complete overhaul instead of just a coat of new paint. So I'm giving it 2.5 rubber chickens. All right, Darren, now we're done with that. How about giving me a hand designing the rest of our paper studio?
Oh, I'd be delighted to. It's the perfect chance to try out my latest laser upgrade, the Trans Paper Morphotron. It turns anything into paper. Watch.
Oh, I don't like the sounds of that, Darren. What if,
What if what? Oh, sorry, Goose.
Oh, Darren, help! Change me back! Oh, no, there's a crack in the floor! Darren!
Oh, sorry, Goose.